Christopher.
I just want to drill down on one important fact, because you and Raj, and you just said this again, that the investigation was ongoing. Christopher Wray said it was closed in January. So who's telling the truth here?
Both. As I said, the FBI portion was closed. The White House Personnel Security Office, who is the one that makes a recommendation for adjudication, had not finished their process and therefore not made a recommendation to the White House.
And let me just clarify one more point. You said yesterday that you didn't get any paperwork from the FBI. Chris Wray said that he did submit paperwork at all the various moments that were.
Again, that would come through the White House Personnel Security Office, which had not completed their investigation and not passed that information to the White House.
Would you acknowledge that you did receive paperwork?
Again, the White House, I think you need to be very clear about there's multiple groups here. The White House Personnel Security Office, which is staffed by career officials, may have received information, but they had not completed their process and made a recommendation to the White House for adjudication. Jeff?
In an op-ed this morning in the Washington Post, the first wife of Rob Porter said specifically of you, "I expected a woman to do better." Based on what you know, do you believe you were personally misled, and do you have any regret for how you have explained this to the American people?
Look, as I said, we do the very best job we can every single day. I would never presume to understand anything going on with that individual, nor would I think that she could presume what's going on with me or the way that I'm responding. Look, we've condemned domestic violence in every way possible. In fact, the president's budget that he released yesterday fully funds the Violence Against Women Act. We're looking for ways that we can take action to help prevent this from ever happening to anyone. And to presume that I feel differently is simply a very strong mischaracterization of who I am and who this White House is and what our actions are focused on and what we're trying to do here.
If I could ask one more, where does John Kelly stand as we sit here today in terms of if the president has confidence in him, why does he have confidence in him based on everything we've learned over the last week?
Look, I don't have anything further to add. The president has confidence in his chief of staff. We're going to continue trying to do the best we can to help the American people. Matthew.
Thanks, Sarah. Raj the other day said last week that the situation could have been handled better. Yesterday, you echoed that, said the situation could have been handled better. Today, the chief of staff said it was all done right. Can you explain, does the White House think this Rob Porter situation could have been handled differently, or do you guys think this was all done right?
Look, as I said yesterday, I think every day we come here, we do the very best that we can, and every day we can do better than the day before, and we're going to continue to strive for that. We're humans, making us imperfect people, and so every day I think we can learn from the day before, and we can strive to do better, and that's our goal certainly within our team, and we're going to continue to try to do everything we can to help serve the American people to the best of our ability.
Was it appropriate for Hope Hicks to be involved in drafting some of these statements, given her relationship with Mr. Porter?
She was not part of a lot of the conversations that took place. I don't recall any of you being in the room to be able to say specifically what comments she made or didn't make. She's the White House Communications Director and is an important and valuable member of the staff, and she has done a great job in that role. April.
Sarah, a couple questions. In light of everything that's going on, is there a review now, an internal review of all of those who have interim security clearances to see if they should stay or should they go?
I can't speak about whether or not different staff have interim or permanent security clearances.
I'm asking you about the process. All right. Is there a review of those who have interim passes to see if they're going to stay or they're going to go? Because in light of what's happening now.
My understanding is that has been ongoing for a while, and that determination would be made outside of anything I can walk you through at this point.
And you spoke of fully funding the Violence Against Women Act. It's up for reauthorization. Tell me the price, how much the president is trying to put in that, and was that the price prior to all of this that's happened with these two people in the last week?
I'm sorry, I'm not following your question.
The budget, you're saying the president's going to fully fund the reauthorization of the Violence Against Women Act that's up in March. How much, what is he putting in his budget?
I'd have to look at the specific number, but it was rolled out in the budget that was presented yesterday.
You mentioned it, but is the number that's always been, or was it just done? Can you talk to us about the funding?
I know what was requested has been put into the president's budget.
Was it put in?
It was in the budget that was rolled out yesterday. That's been part of the ongoing process.
We just
We
got
don't
the
write a
budget.
budget like in 20 minutes, so it's been part of something that's been ongoing.
I understand that. But there's some things in that budget Mr. Mulvaney did not tell us about yesterday.
That means you probably didn't ask those questions. I'm gonna keep going. John, go
He didn't give us
ahead.
that answer.
Thanks
He
a lot.
purposely didn't give us that information.
Thanks a lot, Sarah. I wanted to just get some clarification from you regarding the testimony, the sworn testimony today by the FBI director. Laid out the timeline, and according to the FBI director's testimony, the FBI submitted a partial report on the investigation in question, Porter's background check, in March, and then a completed background investigation in late July. And yesterday, when I was asking you about when the White House counsel learned about Mr. Porter, had he learned before the report in the Daily Mail last week, your reply to me was the process for the background was ongoing and the White House had not received any specific papers regarding the completion of that background check. So those two statements, the FBI director's statement, Mr. Wray, and your statement yesterday seem to be at odds with one another. Do you see anything that you'd like to clarify in terms of what I asked you today based upon your answer yesterday?
Yeah, as I said earlier, my understanding is any information would have gone to the Personnel Security Office. That office had not completed their process in order to make a recommendation for adjudication to the White House. That was still ongoing, and therefore a recommendation had not been made.
You said the specific papers regarding the completion of the background check had not been received.
That's part of that process that the White House Personnel Security Office plays, run by career officials, and we hadn't received a recommendation from that office.
Yet the FBI director said today under oath that the completed background investigation was actually submitted in late July. So which one is it?
Let me read this to you again. The White House Personnel Security Office, staffed by career officials, received information last year in what they considered to be the final background investigation report in November, but they had not made a final recommendation for adjudication to the White House because the process was still ongoing when Porter resigned. In the view of Personnel Security Office, the FBI's July report required significant additional investigatory fieldwork before Personnel Security Office could begin to evaluate the information for adjudication. We find those statements to be consistent with one another. Jacqueline?
Mr. McGann come
Sorry,
out here
John,
and
I'm gonna
answer
keep
any
moving.
questions that we may have regarding what he knew and when he knew
Sarah,
it?
you've said repeatedly that you and the press team does the very best job you can to relay whatever information you know up there. So is there a feeling that Chief of Staff John Kelly has misled you and his colleagues on what he knew and when, and set up the communication staff for failure to relay credible information to us over the past week in order to cover up the way that he handled the firing of Rob Porter?
No, we're simply stating that we're giving you the best information that we're going to have. Obviously, the press team's not going to be as read in maybe as some other elements at a given moment on a variety of topics, but we relay the best and most accurate information that we have, and we get those from those individuals.
Can you just talk about the other staffers who have been dismissed previously for not passing background checks and why Porter wasn't treated in a similarly timely
My
manner?
understanding is the same process was followed for all employees, and it's the same process that was used in previous administrations, and I can't comment on anybody else's dismissal. Tolu?
Thank you, Sarah. You've talked multiple times about sort of wanting to get us the best information that you have. This scandal has been going on for a week now, and we still don't have answers to the basic questions of sort of who knew what when, whether General John Kelly
I've done the
knew.
best I can to walk you through that process, as has Raj. We've done that pretty extensively, and I'd refer you back to all of the statements we've
So
given
I
on
want to
that.
ask you whether you've spoken specifically to General John Kelly and to the White House counsel to ask them these questions, because you said, I'm not aware or I'm not sure.
I have, and this is the information that was given to me by those individuals.
Is the White House still maintaining that John Kelly really had no idea about these allegations of domestic abuse until this story broke?
I can only give you the best information that I have, and that's my understanding.
And does the president believe the women?
Again, the president takes all of these accusations very seriously. He believes in due process. above everything else, he supports the victims of any type of violence, and certainly would condemn any violence against anyone.
We still haven't heard him say that himself. The cameras were in
Look,
front of him today. I
again,
think
the
it's-
president dictated to me specifically that comment yesterday, which I read out to you guys.
Mr. President, do you believe Rob Porter's ex-wives? Do you believe Rob Porter's ex-wives, Mr. President?
Mr. President,
Thank you.
do you have a message to domestic
Thank you
violence
very much.
victims?
Thank you.
Thank you.